Hello and welcome. Our group Infamous Horses, including Mubaraka, Maryam, Hamza and myself, Yabudullah, will be presenting today on the topic of chromatic polynomials. We will start by introducing the topic, go over its history, discuss some of its applications and practical uses, and also talk about its relevance in CS and how it is computed. Now before the actual introduction, let us talk about an interesting problem. Let's say there's 5 friends who want to take a group photo, but they want to take it such that no two adjacent friends are wearing the same colored shirts. So the first friend may wear any color. Let us take yellow. Since we want the next friend to wear a different colored shirt, let us say he wears purple. Now since the condition for having a different colored shirt is only for adjacent friends, the next person can also wear the first color, which is yellow, and the next can wear the purple, and then again yellow. Now all the friends have dressed up in a way that satisfies the condition they wanted to take the photo in. Notice how it took shirts of only 2 different colors to satisfy this condition. Keep this in mind as we will be defining this later. It isn't necessary that the minimum number of colors be used. The condition can be satisfied using a larger number of colors as well, and also different ways of how they are arranged. Each different way of such a coloring that satisfies these conditions is termed as a proper coloring. Now what if we want to know the total number of possible colorings for a given number of colors? Let us again take our group of 5 friends and take the number of colors we have to be lambda. The first friend has the option to wear any of the lambda colors since his adjacent friend isn't assigned a color yet. Now the next friend is left with the option to wear any of the lambda minus 1 colors since we are excluding the color the first one is wearing. The next will also have lambda minus 1 options to choose from since he is only adjacent to the second and not the first friend. Multiplying all these terms together gives us a polynomial. Notice that the same problem can also be represented using graphs. The polynomial we just found out for any graph G is defined to be its chromatic polynomial and is represented as the function of P of graph G and lambda. Let us remember that we were trying to find out the total possible number of combinations. So solving this polynomial for any lambda number of colors gives us the total possible proper colorings for the graph G. Remember I talked about the minimum number of colors required for a proper coloring? That is defined as the chromatic number, and it is represented by the Greek symbol chi of G. Some interesting points to note about the chromatic polynomial are that it is a monic polynomial, meaning the highest order term has the coefficient 1. The magnitude of the second coefficient in the polynomial shows us the total number of edges in the graph. Since the preceding vertices have terms lambda minus 1, lambda minus 2 and so on, the expansion of the polynomial gives coefficients with alternating signs. And lastly, there is no constant term in the polynomial. Over to Mubaraka.
So we will now take a look at the history of the chromatic polynomial. So the origin of the chromatic polynomial is linked with a very interesting problem, which is called the four-color theorem. So if you were to take a close look at this map that is displayed on the screen, you can easily count the number of colors that have been used to color this map. And it is just 4 colors. So this is what the four-color theorem states, that the minimum number of colors required to color a map using proper coloring is just 4. So, however, the proof of this theorem was very difficult to obtain, and several attempts were made in order to find a proper mathematical proof. One such attempt was in 1912 by George David Birkhoff, which resulted in the formulation of the chromatic polynomial. Birkhoff viewed the maps as planar graphs with adjacent areas on the map as adjacent nodes of the graph, and he devised a polynomial that would give the number of possible ways to color the graph using proper coloring, which was essentially the chromatic polynomial. However, his attempt was not so successful in giving us a proof for the four-color theorem. Later on, in 1932, Hessler-Whitney extended the formula of the chromatic polynomial to non-planar graphs, and the chromatic polynomial therefore became an essential component of algebraic graph theory and an essential tool for graph analysis. Over to Hamza.
Thanks, Mubaraka. Now, I'll walk you through some of the applications of chromatic polynomials An important point to note here is that it is confusing at times to find out that the motivation of chromatic polynomial applications might seem to originate from other concepts because they are so closely related. But as we'll discuss, we'll find out that mostly the underlying idea and motivation behind these applications is same, that we need to utilize as little of any limited thing as possible in order to achieve our respective tasks in an efficient manner. So first of all, we have allocation of channels to TV or radio stations. TV and radio run on different channels, and the close by channels cannot use the same frequency as it causes interference. Furthermore, limited channels or frequencies are available for use by stations. Typically, only 100 channels are available. Therefore, this problem was solved by using the concept of graph coloring by finding chromatic polynomial in order to allocate minimum number of channels or frequencies to the stations in such a way that none of them causes interference. Another application is regarding the construction of timetables. Let's say we have a list of lectures to be assigned to various courses. By considering these constraints and the problem that we have limited number of slots available, we can solve it by linear programming problem and by defining maximal independent sets of the graph. The nodes within each maximal independent set are not connected by an edge, and the union of these sets is equal to the nodes of graph. After dividing nodes in maximal independent sets, we assign a single color to a slot to all the nodes of a maximal independent set, and the nodes that belong to more than one set can be assigned to either of them. In this way, we can construct our timetables without any clashes. Next up, we have bipartite graph. An alternative and interesting way of checking whether a particular graph is bipartite or not is simply by checking that if the given graph is two colorable. If we are able to color that graph with two colors, then it is a bipartite graph. Another application is that of register allocation. In compiler optimization, register allocation is the process of assigning a large number of target program variables onto a small number of CPU registers. Other applications of chromatic polynomials include Sudoku and the famous map coloring problem that Mubaraka discussed earlier.
So now the question is how relevant it is in terms of computer science. Well, the chromatic polynomial is an essential component of algebraic graph theory, and graph theory has significant usage in computer science. Graph is a versatile data structure that enables data organization and data flow and is also very useful in establishing large networks. So the chromatic polynomial can be utilized as an essential tool for graph analysis, which can provide us with insights into the features of the graph, including the number of vertices and the number of nodes as discussed previously. And it can also be used for analysis of the data structure tree, which is also very frequently used data structure. Further on, chromatic polynomial is also linked with graph coloring, which itself has many significant usage in computer science and in areas of research, which include data mining, image segmentation and clustering, image capturing, networking, resource allocation, and scheduling. Therefore, the chromatic polynomial has key link with computer science. Over to Mariam.
So now we look at how we can compute the chromatic polynomial of a graph. Before we discuss a generalized method, let's first consider some of these simple standard cases where we can find the chromatic polynomials just by easily by looking at them. We've already seen in the beginning for a path graph, we have a polynomial lambda into lambda minus 1 to the power n, and in this case, as shown, in this particular case, lambda into lambda minus 1 to the power 4. Now consider this empty graph. Here we can pick any color lambda for all the nodes, and all the nodes can be colored with the same color as none of them are adjacent. Now finally consider this triangular graph. Here for the first node, we have lambda choices. For the second, we have lambda minus 1. And for the third, we have lambda minus 2 choices. So its chromatic polynomial becomes lambda into lambda minus 1 into lambda minus 2. Notice that this graph is a complete graph, and it can be and its polynomial can be generalized for greater number of vertices. For the 6-vertex graph at its left, which is also a complete graph, it follows the same pattern and its polynomial is lambda into lambda minus 1 into lambda minus 2 and so on up till lambda minus 5. So we generalize the polynomial of a complete graph as it's written here, which is lambda into lambda minus 1 into lambda minus 2 up and until lambda minus n plus 1. So I hope you can remember this expression, which will be useful in the following method. So now let us look at the decomposition theorem. The idea is to decompose a given graph repeatedly into subgraphs until no non-adjacent vertices remain, which means all the subgraphs become complete graphs. For subdividing the graph, we break it into two components, G1 and G2. G2 and G1 is formed by joining an edge between two non-adjacent vertices, and G2 is formed by fusing two non-adjacent vertices together and by replacing the set of parallel edges with a single edge. To understand it properly, let's look at the following example. So let's look at this graph G. Consider these two vertices which are non-adjacent. To compute G1, I simply add an edge between the two, and for computing G2 I simply fuse the two non-adjacent vertices and replace the two parallel edges with a single one. So notice here that G1 has already achieved the status of a complete graph, so we will not subdivide it further, but for G1 we have to subdivide the graph further. So we take G2 to the next level as it is, and we subdivide G1 further into G1a and G1b using the same rule. For the remaining two non-adjacent vertices as shown here, I have again added another edge, and for G1b I have fused the two non-adjacent vertices. So now we achieve three subgraphs which are all complete, G1a, G1b and G2. So our original goal was to find the chromatic polynomial of the graph G given to us initially. For that, we can simply take the sum of all the polynomials of the subgraphs, and as we discussed earlier, we can find the chromatic polynomial of all the complete graphs here and simply add them. So we achieve the result lambda into lambda minus 1 to the power 2 into lambda minus 2. So hope you liked the video and enjoyed the concept. Thank you so much for your time.